Good afternoon, everyone. This is Corey Hinkle with your daily We Are Waiting for NVIDIA's Earnings update from Ankerstar Wealth. We are waiting for those earnings, but in the meantime, I'm going to address the question you've seen above, which is what company out there has the potential to dethrone NVIDIA and become the new number one? History shows us that companies don't tend to stay number one forever, and I have my eyes on a specific company that has that very potential to dethrone NVIDIA. We'll address that. I'll give you a little market update, and yeah, that will send you on your way. Tomorrow, of course, we'll be back with some updates around NVIDIA, potentially another AI rally update, depending on the market environment. But first, I do need to remind everyone this is a financial education presentation. You must do your own due diligence before acting on anything you hear in this presentation. More disclaimer information can be found on ankerstarwealth.com, and the opinions expressed are, of course, mine and mine alone. All right, before I do share that company that I've got my eyes on, I want to hit on a market update. So you can see the S&P 500 up 0.06%. So why is the market not really doing anything today? Because investors are just waiting for NVIDIA's earnings. There's not a ton of repositioning investors can do related to the AI rally until we hear it from the CEO of NVIDIA himself. Now, one thing that's going to come up on this call that I am fascinated to learn more about is if you've heard of Michael Burry from The Big Short. So it's a movie about the 2008 financial crisis where, a famous investor named Michael Burry bet against the housing market, and he was right in that moment. He has since bet against other things and wasn't right at all times, but he has really brought to the forefront this idea that these AI companies are delaying the way they're writing down the value, the way they're depreciating the chips they're buying from NVIDIA. So many of these companies had been accounting for these chips to last 3 years, but they actually have started stretching that out to 4, 5, or even 6 years, because when you reduce that depreciation expense, it juices your earnings up higher and makes it look really good. Now, this has been called into question, and we expect today for someone to ask Jensen Huang from NVIDIA about that very topic. And we'll get to hear from him what he thinks about how long these chips can realistically be productive. And is a 6-year depreciation cycle reasonable? We'll find out hopefully tonight from Jensen, see what he thinks. All right, I know you're waiting to figure out which company I've got my eyes on as being a disruptor to the number one company in the world. So these are those top companies in the United States by market cap. The largest one, 4.5 trillion, being NVIDIA. As we go down the list here, who do I think could overtake NVIDIA up at, $4.5 trillion to be a new number one? Let's see. They're not going to be down here. These companies just are not. But it's going to take them quite some time to grow. It is a top 5 company up here, and it's going to be Google, actually. So I'm going to lay out the case and my reasoning around seeing Google as a potential new number one over the course of, we'll say the next maybe 1 to 2 years in some time frame like that. Now, how is it possible that Google could have such potential? Well, if you look at Google's business segments already, Google has one thing that any company would want, and that is a high margin cash cow business called Google Search. Google Search is running revenues on its own of about 200 billion per year right now. Now, if you imagine you're an OpenAI, OpenAI is Google's top competitor right now, and they have no such cash cow. So who do investors ultimately view as being the more likely to win company long term? It's gonna be a Google where you have a cash cow business that can subsidize your spend in order to compete in the space. OpenAI is trying to build it from scratch. They're trying to build a cash cow business, but they don't have one already. So that's Google search. You've got Google Network, subscriptions, platform, devices. You could think Android. Again, Android, the primary operating system for cell phones around Earth. Geez, that's pretty significant. You've got Google Cloud. We'll speak about that. You've got YouTube, which is bigger than Netflix, all on its own. So you've got a Netflix inside of Google, and then you have other bets, which would be, a real magic trick type company would be, or like a Waymo. What if Waymo's self-driving technology proves to be what Tesla and what Zoox and what others have been trying to do? Waymo is in the lead with self-driving technology in the sense of what they already offer in the free market. But can they maintain that? What does that look like in the future? We don't know. But it's there, and it's Google's. It's their asset. So, that's something worth a lot. It's probably, if you look at a Tesla worth 1.5 trillion, Waymo on its own is probably worth 300 billion, just from the standpoint of the technology itself. All right, yesterday, Willie, today and yesterday, Google has been rolling out Gemini 3. It is their new large language model, their new AI model. Many are viewing Gemini 3. Now, keep in mind, we got ChatGPT 5 just a couple days ago, 5.1, I believe. We got that just a few days ago. Google comes out with Gemini 3. They are widely viewed as the current state-of-the-art model, and a potentially better model than what you're seeing from OpenAI and Anthropic. If you're OpenAI and Anthropic, the last thing you want, the last company on earth that you would want to have the state-of-the-art model is Google, because Google has instant reach. You've got Google Search, Google Maps, Gmail. I could list 10 other apps that people are using every day, and through Google, with as in the Google ecosystem, and it's accessible right at their fingertips. If you're using ChatGPT, you might have that technology embedded in another website that is out there, but chances are you've really got one portal there to get to information from ChatGPT, which would be ChatGPT. So Google has the reach and the ecosystem to where if they have the state-of-the-art model, that is a nightmare for any competitor out there. And it looks like Google might have that right now. As Google's rolling out Gemini 3, that's also going to be going to enterprises. So they'll be signing deals. We looked at that deal yesterday, right, with OpenAI and Intuit, $100 million a year, great deal. Google's going to be doing the same thing. And imagine you're a company, right? Imagine you are an Apple and you're trying to make a decision about who you want to partner with for integrating this technology into your offering. You're going to be thinking about, well, of course, who's going to be a good long-term partner for us? And it would be reasonable to think that there's a little less certainty around the staying power of a ChatGPT, just strictly because of the financials behind their operation right now. Whereas, Google has famously had the cleanest balance sheet of any Mag 7 company for basically forever. They've always had that. So in terms of choosing a partner, a durable partner, Google does kind of feel like a safe bet. And speaking of Apple trying to partner, Apple is actually, there's rumor, I haven't seen an official deal, but where there's smoke, there's fire. And Apple is nearing a deal to make Siri smarter through actually Google Gemini. As if Google doesn't already have enough reach, is Apple not the best partner you could have, you know, especially in the United States where Apple has significant smartphone market share? Talking about smartphone stuff, let's go look at those top apps in the App Store. You can see Gemini and ChatGPT are duking it out right now for that #1 spot. But as you fall from there, what do you notice? You've got regular Google at #6. You've got Google Chrome at 15, Google Maps at 16, Google Gmail at 17. So you've got 5 of the top 17 apps are all Google. And the thing that Google has that Meta doesn't have, Amazon doesn't have, Apple doesn't have, Apple kind of has it, but you have a true ecosystem. Someone could really streamline many parts of their life through just the Google ecosystem between Google Maps, Gmail, Google Drive, Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides. You could really integrate many different things. Google Music, you know, YouTube, YouTube TV. There's a lot. You could integrate many different things through the Google ecosystem. Apple has an ecosystem, kind of that walled garden thing, but even Apple doesn't have quite an ecosystem like Google does. So consumers tend to be very comfortable and confident using those Google apps. And again, if you're a ChatGPT, the last thing you want is for Google to have the best LLM on top of all that. Let's go see what consumers are thinking. If we go to Google Trends, if you rewind a year ago, you can see, and just so you know, Google Trends, they look at search histories and things, but it's right-sized and it's like relative to total search volumes at different points in history. So it really smooths out the line. So if a line is increasing here, you are actually literally getting a stronger relative volume of searches, you know, compared to itself over time. All right, so you rewind a year ago. ChatGPT had more than 4 times the search volume as a Google Gemini. Google Gemini was kind of in its infancy at this point. If you fast forward to today, you can see that Google Gemini is more than half. You know, it's catching up. It's more than halfway to where current ChatGPT searches are. So, you know, you really start to think about it, and from many different perspectives, it's going to be hard for ChatGPT to hold the throne. Now, of course, they might. You never know. Who else? What else is Google doing? Google's doing so much, and the cloud business is growing so fast. Google also has AI development with their custom TPUs. A tensor processing unit is a custom designed AI accelerator which is optimized for training and inference of AI models. Hey, wait a minute. Isn't that like NVIDIA's business? It is. Google has a very competitive offering that competes directly with NVIDIA. Now, Google's AI chips have significant implications for consumers and competitors because Google CPUs offer an attractive alternative to NVIDIA's GPUs. That's exactly, if you weren't aware, Google has the capacity today to compete directly with NVIDIA through the AI chip offering. Now, of course, NVIDIA does have some advantages in this space with their hardware, but, and I'm not implying that Google is breathing down NVIDIA's neck, but what I am implying is that Google's in the race. Google is in the race, and they're not running very slow. So they're not a slow racer in the race. Here's what you need to know. So Google would actually be making more of their own chips that compete directly with NVIDIA's chips. They'd be doing that right now. But as I mentioned in a prior video, TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductor, the single company that's making all of these chips for AMD, NVIDIA, Amazon makes their own chips too. Google, Tesla makes their own chips. I don't know who makes Apple's chips, probably TSMC as well. So all these companies do kind of have their own version. But right now, the demand was so intense and potentially even the margins as well, the highest for NVIDIA's chips, that TSMC has allocated additional capacity, really monopolistic levels of capacity to NVIDIA throughout this AI build out stage. And as a result of that, Google can't get their TPUs made. They can't because they can't. TSMC doesn't have the capacity to make as many as Google would want. If that was not a limitation, if we weren't capacity constrained on the chip production side, you would probably already see a little bit less dependence on NVIDIA's chips. So again, this is my perspective on this entire situation. What does it mean longer term? It means that people are coming in a sense for NVIDIA's lunch money, their piece of the pie. And Google's a fast competitor in that race. When you put all these things together, Google Cloud, Google Search, YouTube, the Google ecosystem, Android, you've got Google Gemini, and the momentum there, Google TPUs, Waymo. I don't even know if I probably forgot something. When you put all these things together and you compare that with every other company who has established a large moat, it gives you a reason to believe that Google does have the potential to become that #1 company over time. All right, that's all I've got for you today. We will hear from NVIDIA in just a couple of hours, and so I'll have something for you on that tomorrow. I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye, everybody.